repeating myself as we talked about a couple episodes ago because we have an intro.
Yeah, we do. I probably should go first, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm Chris Clements. That's Sean Noble.
Why don't we just jump right to our guest? Since we
we are really pleased to have a good buddy of mine named Chuck Loftin of Loftin Equipment Company, and also Greater Phoenix.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Graduate of the University of Arizona.
Best 5 years of my life.
Proud Wildcat.
5-year.
Former rugby player.
Yes, sir.
We both grew up under the esteemed tutelage of one Dave Sitton, former rugby coach of the University of Arizona for 36 years.
36 years. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Dave was an amazing guy.
You went to high school
here locally in Phoenix. Yeah. Brophy.
Okay.
Oh, you went to Brophy?
I did.
I thought you went to Sunny Slope for some reason.
That's the neighborhood I grew up in.
Okay, you grew up there and you went to Brophy.
My dad went to Sunny Slope.
Okay.
Great school.
Yeah.
Well, it's really good now. I mean, it's not that it's not been good, but it's
Oh, yeah.
one of those that has waiting lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
So how have you been?
I've been excellent.
Yeah. What's going on at Loftin Equipment Company these days? This is like an amazing family enterprise.
Yeah, thank you.
Been around since the mid-'70s.
Yeah, 1976. We just celebrated our 45th anniversary, opened up a new headquarters right down the street. So life is good right now.
How is Loftin Equipment Company contributing to the free enterprise system? And great.
Meritocracy.
Meritocracy. Because one of our pillars here is, faith, freedom, free enterprise. And we want to bring on business people who want to tell their story. And how did Loftin get started? And how did you get... you grew up in the company, obviously.
Yeah. So my dad was in between colleges, as he likes to say. So he was parting his way through U of A, then ASU. He grew up in a family business, and he said, school is not for me. I know I don't want to work for anybody. He was the boss's kid growing up, and went out and bought a company called Nelson Electric. Didn't know anything about generators or engine rewind. Just knew that he wanted to be his own man. And went ahead and did it and applied to be the Kohler distributor, and we started growing from there. So started in Maricopa County, grew throughout Arizona, eventually southern Nevada, New Mexico, and now all of Texas. So
You have all of
tremendous.
Texas.
we have all of Texas.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's quite the ride.
Now, when people think of Kohler, they think, sinks and toilets. They don't think of generators.
That is a perception out there, but Kohler's actually been in power for over 100 years.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's actually a pretty cool tie-in to get the plumbing. So they had this hog scalder, right, plumbing in rural America, and they put feet underneath. That became the modern bathtub, as you will. But to get water to pump it, they had to have a electrical plant, and thus the first generator was born.
Wow.
No kidding.
I did not know
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we're going to learn all sorts of
Wow.
things.
yeah.
here.
We're having an education.
Yeah. And how big is Kohler now?
6 to 7 billion,
Yeah.
privately held by the Kohler family. Mm-hmm.
They're building a plant down in Casa Grande, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
Is that generators or is that fixtures?
That's
and
a
stuff like that?
distribution facility for the
Okay.
fixtures and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay.
Most of their generators are still manufactured in Kohler, Wisconsin, and then they've got an engine plant in Mississippi and other worldwide manufacturing.
That's great. And how did you always know that you wanted to be in the family business?
Great question. I actually wanted to do anything but be in the family business, to be honest. Want to do my own thing. When I got out into the world, worked for an engineering company and a couple other spots, and realized that had it pretty good. My dad was an amazing mentor, still is. And, I kind of went to my mom and I said, what do you think about, what do you think Dad would say if I wanted to join Loftin? She said, are you kidding me? He'd love it. That's fantastic, but it's only, if you want to do it. So got in there, started at the bottom, and away we went.
So what does the bottom look like at Kohler?
As a Kohler distributor?
Yeah, I mean, what does the bottom look like? Like, I grew up in, obviously, in the beer distribution business, so the bottom for me was literally, scrubbing floors and cleaning toilets.
Yeah, there's janitorial stuff, sweeping floors, cleaning toilets, warehouse, and then you move on to shipping and receiving, so you're boxing and shipping parts, and then you move into, if you have any technical aptitude, then you're in a truck or working on engines and generators. That was definitely not me. So they threw me over into sales.
Did you ever get electrocuted?
No, thankfully not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to be
Safety's a big
fixing
deal.
I used to be fixing neons and and it'd be a metal table or something like that, and then some one of the guys would like zap me.
Yeah.
It was the worst.
Not fun.
No.
How much did employees like give you a hard time, make fun of you, beat you down a little bit?
I think you got to earn your stripes. So
Yeah.
that's just a natural part of the process. And you definitely don't come in and throw your weight around. You
Yeah.
got to earn your place in any business. And that's why I talked about meritocracy earlier. So there was a learning curve, but people have been working for my dad for 20, 30 years. And so they wanted, me to succeed. So they were much more trying to help out and hear the lessons off to the side versus trying to make me look foolish.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm sure they made you look foolish
Oh,
and made
a number
you
of times,
succeed.
yeah.
Yeah. That's just sort of the lot of the SOB, the son
Yeah.
of the boss.
So how did that transition work when your dad's stepped a little bit more out and you were coming in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I thought that if I went and got my MBA off to the side, then I'd be ready to take over. And he had a very sobering thought for me after I wrote this really sweet business plan, 12-page business plan about what I'd like to do with it. And he said, "This is great. I'm proud of you for doing your MBA. You're not ready. So, why don't you get back out there and continue to work?" So it probably happened when I was 30, that it was a natural time and a natural evolution because we were trying to scale up throughout Texas. We had a lot more branches that were opening, so a lot more employees, and formulated an executive team that we could share ideas off of, and with the understanding that what got us here isn't going to take us to where we want to go in the future. And again, he gave me a lot of love and a lot of rope to hang myself, if you will. So it's been a great ride. And again, he's still heavily involved in the business, founder and chairman role, and he's the heartbeat of Loftin. He's really the one that sets the culture and continues to make it a family.
That's great.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have?
We're close to 200 now.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive. very
It's
cool.
interesting. You guys were talking about the vaccines earlier and the masks. That piece of legislation
We talk about that a lot.
that did not go through with OSHA and the over 100 employees
Yeah.
was a huge deal. And we had, we did straw polls with our team, and we said, what would you do if you were required at Loftin to get a vaccination? They say, I'd leave and I'd go somewhere else. Basically, don't tread on me, don't tell me what to do. And so that is a big piece of having a private company, is not having to have as many oversights, if you
Yeah.
will. And so that was a big overreach that was averted, thankfully, because we would have lost a lot of great quality people.
Yeah, it's so many people just hadn't really thought through what the impact would be because, it's choice. I mean, it should be a freedom of choice.
Well, what's interesting about that is that the government, or at least the left, would look at it as like, oh, it's less than it's 100 employees. I mean, it's not that many, but what they don't realize is that it's a lot of private enterprises will probably try to get under that 100,
Right.
lay people off, do whatever they can to honor their employees' choices and honor how they want to run their business.
Well, I mean, if you're anywhere on the margin, if you're like
Yeah.
110 or so, but to be at 200, that's
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was no
There's no wiggle room.
Right.
no out.
Well, and what 100 is pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
I don't know where that
Yeah, exactly.
came up.
That's my point.
Yeah.
What during COVID? I mean, how did it really affect the way you were working and
Yeah,
your
so-
business in general?
So we're in a 24/7 business, obviously, backup power. And there was a period of uncertainty of a couple weeks. The toughest part was our technicians were not allowed on site to a lot of different facilities, right? I mean, everyone was super scared. And so they didn't want the liability of having someone come on site, even to repair, fix, or maintain the generator itself. So that was probably the toughest time. And then people backed off of that and realized how critical it was for our space. And then we started to continue to evolve and add more and more. You can't believe the amount of orders that got, right? I mean, this was a worldwide crisis.
Sure.
And then we go into supply chain issues. So the amount of backlog that is still there with everything going on in the energy space is insane. And so we are trying to fulfill and get through all of these orders, all of the new builds, all of the supply chain constraints. But really difficult at the onset, and then 60 days after that, it was like the spigot is back on and flowing more than ever.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So, talk to us a little bit about. Yeah, I mean, you're in the energy space, and there's a lot going on. What are some things that people may not think about or may not understand the totality of, as far as how we deal with going forward on the energy side? I mean, obviously, what's going on with Russia invading Ukraine has impact on us, obviously in Europe. But how does all that kind of work together, and what should people be thinking about?
I think from a macro level is what is the hesitancy on nuclear? Nuclear seems to be the most efficient option going forward. Little waste. Sure, there's been a couple minor accidents, but at the end of the day, I think not enough people are talking about nuclear. You see what's going on in Europe, and they're about to start heading down that way.
Europe has shut down a ton of nuclear power plants over the last several years, and it's what has caused a lot of the issues.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There.
I mean,
And now they're like, oh, well, maybe we should
Russia.
rethink that.
Right. Yeah, so that needs to be layered back in. I think that's ultimately where we go, but there's a lot of steps to get between here and there. I think one of the things that can get dangerous is how quickly people want to proceed. There's this perceived increase in temperature and how much that's going to affect. Well, that's been talked about from the rooftops for a number of years. So, to get to where we want to go, it takes a lot of engineering to get these pieces of equipment, these technologies in place. If you think about it, just take the example of the car companies here. Ford, GM, all of the engineers that they have on staff and how they've honed to get those engines as efficient as they possibly can be with the EPA restrictions and not throwing out as much exhaust or as much particulate filter. I mean, they had hundreds, if not thousands, of engineers working on that for 10 to 15 years on this latest go round. But before that, obviously 40 to 100 years. So they are moving all of those resources into the battery space to get that technology as efficient as they possibly can and hopefully drive the cost down. Well, in the meantime, the consumers are going to suffer until we can get the technology where it needs to be. And I think that's not what a lot of people are talking about. They see the end goal. They don't see the cost and the timing and the energy and the effort to get there. So that needs to continue to be talked about. Don't throw out an arbitrary, everything needs to be roses by 2050. Tell us the plan of how we're going to get there. And by the way, what are the costs to the people when that technology starts to get layered in?
Yeah, I think that's a great point because I think there's a misperception that electric vehicles are going to be affordable, and by affordable, I mean like in the 20 to 30,000 range, soon, and that's probably not the case in a mass scale.
I mean, what's the average price of a Tesla?
Like 60 or 70.
And what are they asking for a new like Chevrolet Silverado electric?
80,
Probably 100.
maybe
at
more.
least.
I mean, I think
I mean, Mary
Ford-
Bear was on all the business shows, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, talking about their pre-orders for the Silverado electric are off the charts. You did a pre-order.
did
on
pre-order for the
Ford.
F-150 Lightning, but that's going to be $100,000.
Yeah, that's
Which
I
is
mean,
why I'm glad I got pushed off because I got to save up the money to get it.
I did a pre-order for a gasoline GMC A24 again.
Well, hold on to that.
Yeah.
In 20 or 30 years, that'll
Yeah.
catch a pretty penny at Barrett Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But the way we talked a little bit about before we went live, but the waste of those lithium batteries, we haven't really figured all that out either.
That's another great point. I don't know if that's being discussed at all, or the recycling plans of where that goes, or how that gets reintroduced. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with a diesel engine waste. The block gets, repurposed, remanned, boiled down. I mean, what are we going to do with the battery? I personally don't know. I don't know if they're talking about it right now, but
Yeah.
But let's go into that's one part of it, getting to the end of the battery. But how do we get to the battery itself? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people don't really think through in that regard.
Yeah,
As far as rare earth minerals and all that, right?
Precisely, and I don't know which tangent you want to go on, who owns the rare earth minerals or where are they located right now, but between lithium and cobalt and mining and extracting all of that, right, what pieces of equipment are you using? What labor, if you're in developing nations, are you using? Are people comfortable with that? And then the cost to get that over to the plants to be produced.
Where is I think I read somewhere that the majority of nickel is in Russia.
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right near China.
That's not
So,
Yeah, and that's the other piece. China holds, most of those batteries are built in China,
they are,
right?
yeah.
well,
I mean,
and they have-
you're trying to push for an economic outcome with the advance of electric battery technology in cars, and yet at the same time you're going to have to rely on your adversaries to fulfill those that vision.
Yeah, and that's exactly, and I think that becomes an important sticking point on this narrative of, I don't think a lot of people are trying to be in the way of progress. It's just having eyes wide open, and this environmental push, this climate change push is littered with anti-capitalist rhetoric in there, and that turns a lot of people off. And then, the hidden cost, the hidden agenda behind it, and then, just not being forthcoming of, here's how we get there, here's the costs in the short term, and then this is why it's going to be better in the future. But, you got to have all those answers besides just saying a diesel engine is bad because it pollutes.
Right. Well, and it's going to take capitalism to get to where they want to go. So for them to be anti-capitalist just strikes me as completely counterproductive.
Yeah, I would think that if you firmly believe in this agenda, you would have it with open arms and want to include people that want to be part of the solution as opposed to putting them at arm's length.
Elon Musk has gone from hero to goat. Well, he is goat in some ways, but what I mean is
Greatest of all time? you
Yes,
mean? Or
yes.
yeah.
I mean, he's the richest guy in the world. But, he was Solar City, Tesla, SpaceX. These were all things that generally the left was cheering. And somehow he's shifted into this, somehow he's a right-wing nut because of Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know. It strikes me as looking a gift horse in the mouth.
Well, but you even see the reaction to Elon even ahead of his Twitter purchase and what Joe Biden and the administration was trying to do with industrial policy and saying that if you buy an electric car from a GM or a Ford, you get this great rebate, but not if you buy a Tesla, which is still an American company, but it's not union. So it's
Well, and I
only
think-
union made. So those type of decisions create imbalances in the market that are just completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the rebate was meant to help boost sales, but also to help the companies that were doing it. And Tesla has been so successful that they've grown out of the rebate number.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense if the goal is to get as many people into EVs as possible.
Well, going back, why do you think that Elon has had a fall from grace from so many people? I mean, with what you talked about, all the companies that he has built, is it because he's a billionaire? Is it because he holds that much money and potentially that much power?
I think it's part of it. I think that they while they championed and cheered what he was doing in the EV space and the solar space, the success that he got made him all of a sudden one of the evil guys because he's a billionaire, and then billionaire 200 times over. It goes to a mentality, I think, that they don't quite, there's a cognitive dissonance in the sense that they want all these great things to happen, and yet somebody who puts the work into making it happen becomes successful, and then they resent the success that they've enjoyed. I mean, it's a pathology, I think, that we've got to figure out how to overcome in the American political system, because this division is very counterproductive for any kind of progress. I mean, who's going to want to, if it's like, if I do that, I'm going to get assailed. I don't know. The incentives seem to be screwed up.
Well, I was just listening to what you're saying. I think on the left, though, there seems to be, like, if you become a millionaire or billionaire, you did something either nefarious or illegal to do that.
You didn't earn that.
You didn't really, you didn't earn
Who
that.
did you screw over?
You
to
didn't
get
build that. And there's this idea that capitalism, because it creates some inequities, that if you're successful, and you're competitive, you did something to another person that was wrong.
Well, it's a
like,
feeling
no,
that
you just were competitive and you built a better mousetrap,
Yeah.
and their mousetrap wasn't that great, and now you're being successful.
Well,
People buy Teslas over Chevy Volts because it's a better mousetrap.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Well, and
now, are there competition coming up? Yeah, sure. And Elon Musk is going to have to deal with that. He's going to have to continue to advance that technology,
Right.
and have an incentive to advance that technology to continue to be successful. But I think with the left, they not only they're going to give you, you're going to be successful, but then there seems to be this idea that if you are successful, you need to be then subservient to some government
Control
idea.
issue.
Yeah, control. And that is socialism, that's communism, that's and if you're successful in Russia, you're subservient to the government, which now we're seeing these oligarchs get killed over the last. Have you guys seen these articles?
two of them that.
No, there's been like 5 or 6 of them that have been
two
like
within,
found
like,
hung and their kids
families
shot
are
and
dead.
crazy stuff going on. But it's the same in Europe. Europe for many years operated under kind of a feudal system, where if your dad was a baker, you were going to be a baker. There wasn't this idea that you could go and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with the mentality of a lot of the left, the progressives, is that they think that the pie is one size. And so if you're successful, you're taking away from somebody else. They don't understand that the beauty of our free market system is that the pie grows. It didn't grow this last quarter. It's shrinking a little bit because the economy's coming back because of inflation and other things. But the idea is that we are continuing to make progress, grow. People are becoming more and more successful. I mean, the standard of living in the United States today is just light years ahead of where it was even 20 years ago. I mean, it's amazing to watch, and it's the innovation of companies like yours and others that, hey, let's figure out how to make life better for people.
Yeah, rising them out of poverty is a big deal, and how much progress Elon has done for the world is a big deal, and it's to be celebrated. And back to your point, just because he can't fit in a box, he's not a villain.
Right. Yeah. But even with like a family company like yours, and to a certain extent, family company that we had, in order to be successful and in order to be a market leader, there's a cost to that, right? There's a cost in your time, talent, and treasure. And if you have a certain goal that you want to achieve, whether it be market share or throughput or whatever it is, or gross revenue, you got to go out and get it. It's
Right.
not going to be handed to you, and there's a cost to that. And that's what I think a lot of people on the left don't understand. There's for us, I was just thinking about our competitors that we had. I mean, we did things better, stronger, faster than they did, and we were able to reap the rewards of that. But we weren't necessarily a hugely profitable company because of it either, and we were okay with that. Those are the trade-offs that we had to endure.
Well, 3 years ago, we had 90 employees. Now we've got 200.
Yeah.
So that's 110 job creations, 110 different families that now have opportunities that they might not have otherwise had. So as we grow, normal, right? So too does the rest of the people around us. So, and back to your point, I think the perception that as companies are successful and they put more money to the bottom line, that they are evil or it's on the backs of other people. I think if you go around to a lot of employees of private businesses, they love being there. They love working there. They know what the families do for them, and they know that they've got a path to succeed, and they're happy at work, and they're putting their head down and going to work and enjoying life. I mean, enjoying the benefits.
The vast majority of private businesses, owner-entrepreneurs, family businesses, put money not so much into the bottom line. They put it back in. Their bottom line is their people, and that's where they put their money.
Well, and if there's any doubt about people being happy with where they are, it's the fact that this is a a worker's economy right now.
Oh,
You can go
absolutely.
anywhere. There's so many jobs available. If you don't have people flocking away from you, then you're doing something right.
You're doing something tremendously right, and that's part of the competition. You know, you're not only competing against your direct competitors, you're competing for, people capital, and
Right.
making sure that your employees are well taken care of, well paid, benefits are great, and whatever else that's important to them.
Yeah, I think back to what Sean was saying, the pie isn't only this big. It continues to expand as you put more people to work in a free market, right? That's more people need to understand that
Yeah.
or appreciate that.
Right. What? So you've been at this for a while. What have been the biggest challenges you've faced in taking over the business, and what's been the biggest surprise?
I think the biggest challenge is quality people in the organization and finding that talent. I think one of the most difficult things with a trade like being a technician or a plumber or an air conditioning mechanic or, any engine mechanic is this perception that you can't make a great living and that you need to go to university or you need to go to college. That is absolutely not the case. I mean, I could show our team that, if you're 21 years old, 3 to 5 years, you can make 100K in our field. You just need to put in the work. You need to train, and you need to read up on jobs. And I think that's probably the most surprising, is getting people to understand that this is an amazing living that you can make and be proud of, and something that you're excited about in a field, as opposed to going to college and trying to get it figured out. So a lot of people want to go and try and get it figured out, littered with debt, after that.
Yep.
But the trades are a phenomenal way to continue to grow and make an amazing living.
Yeah.
It is remarkable how little attention, especially with the student debt issues and all. We're gonna forgive all this debt. That kind of. Why we haven't done more to encourage people to get into the trades? I mean, there's real money to be made.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it must be that the university system is just so captivated the political class, and it's important to have
Do you
a
see it
degree.
changing though?
I think as the generations start to shift, I think probably a lot of pressure is put on, teenagers to go to college, maybe by their parents. Either they didn't go or they did, and they think that that is the single catalyst for success. And I think that will change. And I think, what we're seeing right now with the movement of employees, they can make a great living at a lot of different jobs in a lot of different companies. And I think they're going to start, trying their hand at other things that they're more passionate about, as opposed to feeling like they're saddled at a desk and they don't really enjoy what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing the pandemic has done in terms of the shutdowns in American universities is now you're seeing enrollments plummet.
Mm-hmm.
And so colleges and universities have a really difficult road ahead.
Especially young men.
There's some of the elite ones, and they're fine. It's just that there's been a sort of an awakening of the cost of college, what their parents awakening to what they're learning in college and coming back with,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm not sending my kid to come back and with all this radical, crazy stuff. I'd rather them just stay home and we can figure out something here.
Right.
So that's where the trades really become important.
And there's a massive shortage. I mean, no matter who you talk to, it's people looking for qualified talent is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So
How much? So there's a big push right now with the Biden administration and for unionism and unions. How much have you had to deal with that? Have you had to deal with that at all?
very little, not in the companies that we surround ourselves with, our customers, electrical contracting companies and general contractors, sure, in different pockets if you're in Vegas or if you're in California. Again, we're more regionally based in Arizona and Texas, so very little. And I don't see much of that, thankfully, knock on wood, coming our way, but never say never. I don't know what the selling proposition is to join a union. I really don't. And so it would be interesting to ask, why are you doing this? What do you think you're protecting? I might have an antiquated view, but this isn't the early 1800s where working conditions are extremely poor and you're not, being treated well.
Yeah, there's this thing called OSHA. It's basically
OSHA
regulates everything.
social media. If you
Well,
have,
and just the fact that there's so many other options. I mean,
Right.
you have to do things to keep your employees happy for them to stay because it costs money to lose somebody and then have to retrain or bring somebody else in. So, I mean, I'm with you. I just, it doesn't make sense.
Well, and yet we have 2 senators here in the state of Arizona who are trying to usher through the PRO Act, which would make forced unionization, a reality. Would destroy the right to work laws in the 28 states that have it, and basically give your employees, if they wanted to join a union, give you a card that says, "Here, we took a vote. Now you have to accept it."
have you had him on the show?
No, we have not.
We're trying.
Yeah,
We just can't find Mark Kelly.
we can't find Mark Kelly. We're still wondering where he is. Do we
Set
have
you
that
up for
graphic?
Wanted.
Perfect.
Wanted.
Where is Mark Kelly?
Where is Mark Kelly?
Ether, somewhere in space.
Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a huge issue and something that maybe especially small businesses need to be absolutely aware of.
Once you
Because
join
it only
a-
takes a couple of people, they're in the shop to say, "Hey, I think a union would be a good thing," and what the government's trying to do is, or at least 2 of our senators, are make it a lot easier.
Yeah, for us, family business, family culture, you're part of the family, and we can do special things for you once you're within here. But if you put up a wall or a division and you become a different group, so to speak, within the company, then I just don't see the benefit of it.
Yeah,
but
the relationship changes. And
the
Yes, it
relationship
does.
changes and it becomes acrimonious or at best. And
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I can speak from experience to that. I mean, we had the Teamsters down in Tucson, but then the rest of our branches were non-union, and it created all these issues.
And I can tell you, it probably have the opposite effect. If they started to unionize more in Arizona, you've got probably some people that are already ready for retirement. They might just shut their business down
Yep.
Yeah.
or sell it or go elsewhere, right? I mean, is that
Yeah.
really what you wanted, or is that the unintended consequence of?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, especially for family businesses.
Right.
They always have an option.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always have an option.
What advice would you give to young people other than go to get some trade training and come work for you? But what for young entrepreneurial spirited people, what kind of advice do you have for folks who like, hey, I want to run something?
I think to me, the biggest thing that either isn't talked about enough or is lacking is authenticity. I think if you're really trying to do something and create a business, being upfront and honest with people and not snowing them over, I think there's a lot of great ideas out there, but people get plugged into the wrong system, or they're serving multiple masters and they lose their way, or they don't become themselves anymore. And, they wake up 5 years from now looking at themselves in the mirror and they don't like what they see. So I think being true to yourself, being authentic, being open and honest with your team and your employees and what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to set the world on fire.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. What else? We've taken a lot of this
Yeah.
time.
When you look at your competition, I mean, what sort of things have you implemented to be competitive in this environment, to master the environment that you're in?
Probably a narrower focus than our competitors have. As we go up against some of the big boys, Caterpillar and Cummins, they've got a lot of different products and services that they offer. It's not just power generation or engines. They've got a full complement of other things. And, you can lose focus on backup generators really quickly
Yeah.
because, backup generator might cost $30,000 and that skid steer that you have out back costs a couple $100,000, right? So I think narrowing the focus into what we do and, having goals of how we want to achieve them. And like I said, it's not one big leap. We have to incrementally get there and being patient. And then the last thing is having a family culture, loving on our team, loving on our employees. You know, that is irreplaceable from a corporation.
Yeah.
So that's a great point.
In this crazy environment, what's your greatest fear?
I think that the regulations imposed upon our business stifling out the entrepreneurship that has made it so great, where people will continue to shut up shop and go elsewhere into different spaces. The energy space is top of mind for a lot of people. Hopefully we have a lot of pragmatic people thinking about this. So I would say just from a macro level that, you know, it's going to take steps to get to where we all think we should go. Let's not, you know, jump into the ocean without understanding those implications.
Yeah.
So you're not like a big fan of the Green New Deal, you would say?
I would say no.
You think that's the big jump into the ocean?
That's a jump in.
And
That's for sure.
Well,
with the intent to drown. I think.
Yeah.
And again, I just go back to why. Well, I mean, what is the basis behind that? You know, are you looking to quote unquote save future generations? Is that really what you're looking for, or you don't like, you know, seeing smoke come out of an engine? I just, the cost of that without the implications is, I would say at best, is not thought all the way through.
Well, yeah, I think the biggest problem is that they don't recognize how bad the quality of life issue will become if you take away all the, if you put these mandates in place and regulations. And I mean, it's going to change. It would fundamentally change the way that we live as a society, and not in a good way. And it ultimately wouldn't actually do much to save the environment.
Well, I think they're getting a taste of that a little bit with the high gas prices that we have, a lot of which is due to the regulatory policy and economic policy of this administration.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with what's coming out of Russia.
Right.
Do we have enough reserves in Texas and Dakota to be able to tap into? I
I
feel like
would
that's a
say
missed
that we-
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and then and you guys don't deal with this. Well, maybe you do a little bit in natural gas generation and
Absolutely.
that sort of thing. I mean, the sudden war or anti-natural gas sentiment that is out there with our government makes no sense to me at all, especially since we are a plus producer of natural gas. You saw just yesterday or 2 days ago, Russia shut down, you know, natural gas distribution to Poland, and we could be shipping liquefied natural gas to Europe, you know, very, very quickly, and we need to get those. I guess there's like 90 permits that still haven't been executed.
I mean, there's just
something crazy.
That is
There's
how you
energy.
and that's how you make the jump to nuclear. But gas should not be a bad word. Natural gas, liquefied natural gas, everything you're talking about, it's a cleaner burn than gasoline and the refinement. It is absolutely what should be bridging.
Yeah, and it should be an option along with electric. You know,
Absolutely.
electric motors, motors that run on compressed natural gas is just as good, if not better, more plentiful.
Right.
So,
Well,
we can go down a lot of rabbit
a
holes.
lot of
here,
rabbit
guys.
holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so much
thanks
for
so
taking
much.
the time.
Absolutely.
It's
This
great
was fun.
having you.
Appreciate
You
it, guys.
go to Loftin. We've got our hats. We're
Got
gonna
our-
be-
yes.
wear these proudly. So
Those are sweet
appreciate
and
it.
comfortable.
These are very nice. You know, we need swag.
Yeah,
We have no swag.
we have no swag.
Yeah, we got nothing.
I guess we'll have to do that.
You know, maybe just some shot glasses or something.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But a T-shirt.
A T-shirt.
Yeah. Start there.
Yeah.
Coffee
That's
mugs.
safe. Coffee mug. There you go.
You know, hats. Well, thanks, Chuck.
Where,
Appreciate
Chuck,
you.
where, if
Yeah.
people want to learn more about Loftin or you, where do they go?
It's all about our team. So it's loftinequip.com is our website. And we've got open positions, probably 10 or 12 right now. So
Oh, great.
Yeah.
if anybody's thinking about it.
There you go.
And if you're nervous about the coming apocalypse, they've got, you know, Kohler residential generators
Absolutely. Got to be prepared.
That's right.
for
That's
sale.
step one.
And you're growing your residential business quite a bit too, aren't you?
We are. Yeah. We think that's a big push to the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
mean, if the electricity grid goes down, how am I going to charge my Tesla?
Exactly.
I'm gonna have
You
to
got
have,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and with the storms we have here during the summer, electric grids go down.
yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And in Texas.
And in
Texas,
Texas.
I'm-
Yeah.
I'm
And
Texas.
natural
I'm guessing-
disasters is a big deal.
I'm guessing
Right.
the ice storms last year were not bad for you.
No, it was all positive. It's just trying to get product.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
No, it's all good. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for your
Thank you,
friendship.
guys.
Thanks for all you're doing for our community as well.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
You bet.
It was fun, guys.
All right. God bless.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.